Alright, let's have a closer look at the Springfield Hellcat in 380. There's a micro compact, about 1 inch thick on the grips and the slide. Very compact at 1 pound, 5 ounces, fully loaded. We have a tritium front sight and a U-notch rear, and we're tapped for a Shield RMSC optic. In this case, it's a Vortex CCW Defender. We have a 3-inch barrel, and we have a reversible magazine release and a slide release on one side of the handgun for your right-handed shooters. And you have your takedown lever right there. The trigger pull on this guy is less than 5 pounds, but it has quite a lengthy bit of travel, which took me some getting used to, especially coming off of Glock handguns. You have about 0.4 of an inch from where the trigger actually breaks to the reset. So at least for me, that's the one little downside of this particular platform. But otherwise, it's a pretty good little gun to shoot. Very soft shooting. With that said, let's actually do some shooting. Alright, we have the Springfield Hellcat in 380 ACP. We're loading up with some Remington HTP 88 grain hollow points. We have a clean target at 10 yards. Let's go ahead and see how we do. By the way, the optic on this pistol is an old-fashioned Vortex Defender CCW. It's a green dot open emitter. Works pretty well. Let's see what we can do. Not so bad. Let's go have a closer look. Alright, there's our group. We have 10 rounds and about a 2-inch pattern at 10 yards. That's not bad at all, but I'm still getting used to those red dot or green dot type of sights. I notice I shoot those a little bit slower, but the accuracy, especially for a small pistol like this, is quite good, and the recoil is pretty tame. You know, when you put the low-powered 380 ACP round in a platform that's really meant for 9mm, you do get a softer shooting platform overall. But on the other hand, the 380 ACP is kind of weak. Some ammunition overperforms in certain barrels, some underperform. It's basically a crapshoot when it comes to ammunition. So what I generally use is some sort of full metal jacket, flat point round, like this Winchester 95 grain full metal jacket. I just generally load with full metal jacket rounds, no matter what 380 I'm running, and at least you get good penetration. See how it works. That's smoking. Let's have a look. Alright, that's 10 for 10. I got one flyer. Very good accuracy. As you can see, I really wasn't taking my time. Disassembling the Hellcat 380 OSP is essentially the same as the 9mm version of the same pistol. Go ahead and take out our magazine. Alright. Lock the slide to the rear with your slide release. Push up on your takedown lever. Dry fire. There is your polymer frame and your rails. There is your slide. It's got a dual recoil spring, and I'm very relieved they didn't use a reduced power recoil spring like I attempted to do on a small 380 to make it easy to rack. It's easy to rack enough. But anyway, there's our barrel, and there's our slide. And that's all we have to do. So I have about 300 rounds through this particular handgun. I got it about a month ago, and I've just been running it as best as I could. And I have to say, I'm pretty impressed with it. I tend to struggle with the micro compact 9mm pistols because, like a lot of the previous generations of 380 pistols that were single sacks, like the Ruger LCP, which are very lightweight and very small, even when you're going down to a small 380 round, it actually has quite a bit of recoil. And essentially all this is essentially just a 9mm pistol, subcompact, or should I say micro compact, but it is chambered in the lower powered 380, so you're actually getting the actual reduced recoil that the 380 promises. On the other hand, you are getting less power overall. Of course, depending on your ammunition choices, 380 is more than adequate, but that's a story that I should leave for another day. But in any case, 300 rounds in, I have no failures at all. In fact, the only real issue I've had with this particular handgun, and it's really the same with the Hellcat OSP 9mm, besides from the recoil from the 9, is the trigger. The trigger is a bit long for me compared to some of the other options, but the trigger does help you from making any sort of mistakes when it comes to holstering, unholstering, and if you have to back off the trigger if you're in the middle of a trigger press. So I'm not going to beat it too hard for that, but that longer trigger pull, it definitely takes a little bit of getting used to. But with that said, even with the trigger pull as it is nice and crisp, and it's easy to make hits out to 10, 20, 30 yards with a small pistol like this, especially with an optic. So with that said, the Hellcat is a pretty fine little option if you're considering a micro compact that is actually a little more easier to shoot than the existing 9mm options. So with that said, I'm James from Outdoors, and I'll see you next time.